We don't want a board member. We
Before I forget to push that button,
We
I'm
don't
just
want
gonna
people
push
to
it.
go for the regular meeting. We pay $100.
You need a remote.
Choose a network.
Somebody come in, always on, oh, what happens at 7:00?
I just tell them you need a remote.
Has this been cleaned out?
It would be easier.
So Peyton in the alleys, there's intern at Turner.
Should be easier.
He needs to learn a lot, and that's a good way to start out. He finds out what he wants to do.
I've never seen anything.
He's a smart kid. Kids don't know what it's like to work in an office, and they need to find out.
I just seen something come across my phone, I haven't got to read it.
He is a smart kid. He's gonna be successful.
I was
He
probably
wants to
down
be
and out.
successful too, that's a difference.
I can't help you now.
He,
And that was the original.
I don't know.
And then they kept adding.
he applies
Yeah, they're
himself.
starting with that one.
No, there's probably something on that, some trouble there.
Nope.
If I don't keep mine cleaned out, it's slow as that 7-year itch.
Yeah.
He said, Crystal, she's not gonna be able to.
It says it's changed.
Oh, you need to take a little ride.
They didn't even make that one, they just put it in.
It just seems logic that you would have something where the people, but that's what I mean, yeah, a plan of action, something, yeah, exactly.
Just leave it.
Let them take care of it, I mean, that was really nice. Yeah, I mean, it was
Have you
weird.
got a copy of the budget proposed?
If it's sort of like Gil, you know, so it's
Should.
not really easy.
We had it at the hearing.
But all the people that went in here.
He hasn't even seen one yet. I think he wants to see two.
Yes, it was.
Trying to keep them out of there.
Oh, no, I think you should see it all.
Yeah, the fires, police. I'm glad they finally get to that.
Well,
The safety of everybody.
Halloween parties in there.
Yes.
Don't you know Halloween?
That
is a big
is.
night? That would have been great, yeah, I couldn't.
how'd you get that?
Me, I saw it for 2 years.
Did you open all your mail?
That would just freak me out.
Phil,
No, I said I didn't.
You know how many
you need to get into your mail, you got 9 messages.
That would have freaked me out.
There you are, there on the left.
I think I could have done
They should have a
Probably
blue,
all. Yeah, and that's why
all
I
these
can't
little
remember.
ones.
I changed the spells.
You'd hear me clear to center.
The blue dots on the alphabet. This is good. Did you get your shot?
That's them.
Was there digging his footing?
The whole pit.
I got my
The whole
A.
pit. They're digging the footings, but they're digging out that whole pit.
And I
I've
seen
seen
it
that.
6
Yeah, and
months.
it went right in the pit.
No, never have to
And
take
it
it
went right through the
again.
center of those.
Yeah, we did.
The whole,
Our people did that.
it's big.
Yes.
Right.
So I need to get that too?
I don't know.
Which, I mean, I'll tell you what, dude.
But I'm very happy that's a positive.
Absolutely, that's the best thing that can happen.
I didn't even know where it was at. I had to look up from up
You'll
from
make
3
it.
different buildings. From 3 different buildings trying to find out.
Well, you know, the night that we had.
We're gonna sit in front of you guys.
If you could keep it down and try not to idly chit chat.
That's just-
Hey, what's
Yeah, sit
happening?
down.
How you doing?
Good, how are you? I did what you did. I hear it about yank my arm off. Then I called Rex and
I was here at 6, I'm like, boy, it looks deserted in there. I was right, it was. Well, it looks like you had a nice vacation. Hi,
it wasn't a
good to see you.
vacation. I was in a seminar from 8 to 5 every day. So Mindy got to have fun.
She had a
I
vacation.
even had to do stuff on Saturday until
Oh.
so we had one afternoon. I had to fly out Santa Barbara. But I tell you what, have you been out there before? To Maine? We were in Portland, Maine.
Yes, yes, we
I
have.
had no expectations, honestly.
I love it up there. Yeah. We were up during the trees, when the trees were
He said we
turning.
missed it by a week.
It's almost too busy, you know? I mean, it's just bumper to bumper. But it's been years. It's probably been 15 years since we were there.
Well, I wanna go back.
Oh, yeah.
I wanna drive, so I gotta try to figure out a way to, I'd like to spend some time there. And so bad it was, get the cost split, you can't get out of there eating breakfast for about less than $20, so it is a little pricier, but I still enjoy it. It's
Lobster
gorgeous.
usually is cheap up through there.
Well, a friend of mine found 2 lobsters for 25 bucks a place. I never found that place. Ours were crazy expensive.
I mean, that's a little price, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But
Aaron's place.
Okay.
I don't.
They're all down, three.
Yeah,
Black in a box.
I left the boat there.
It's on the building. Back to that little restaurant, it's where that breaker is. When you shut one down, you shut them all down. Three of them. I'm 3 minutes.
I don't know. I just talked to him a minute ago.
Where are we on the agenda, do you know?
First, new business.
Hey.
Let's go for got me on.
I went to Mulberry, Indiana, and bought that tractor sitting down the side with that combine on it. I couldn't get nobody real quick to haul it. So I said, just get out there and I'll drive it.
That pumps down. Whatever that
Okay, so it's on the east
Hey, we're
side.
used to doing that kind of stuff. We're just doing the fields and the hills. Even longer than
That's what I'm
that.
saying.
I don't
Three of
either.
them on one breaker. And that's the way
Oh, misplaced my glasses, so I had to grab my.
And the ones they stayed down.
Yeah, we need to separate it out. We need to do that now.
Her son is having some issues, the youngest one,
Autistic.
yeah.
Yeah, I knew that was.
Hates that label.
It's a credit.
Recorder?
He's a cute little guy. He's got sensory issues, you know?
I like to joke about my superflies here, but my other ones work out.
It's a nice day.
Safety glass lady and took the phone off of me.
I don't either. I was like, oh my God. You would be red in the face, I would think. Yeah. That's funny. I can't think of
Last
that.
guy.
Jackie, your fall deal looked like it was busy.
It was a gift.
We went out there and we were gonna start, but we would have had to park on Gar Jackson.
It was almost a Gar Jackson. I know, I hate that because they don't buy much when they have to schlump it all that way. You know, we took about a quarter of the field to the east of us, across the river. Next year, we plan on taking all of it. We're gonna have it planted in grass or something, and we'll keep it mowed.
Now,
And so
I
the
discussed it with her.
8 acres of parking that we'll have. I've been looking-
Important for that day.
It is, it is.
It looked like you had a lot of stuff going on.
We did, it was wonderful, it was very nice, but the weather was perfect. You know, that makes all the difference in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, if the weather's against you,
You're done for. Yeah,
that's a big headwind.
but we were real blessed. I mean, it was wonderful.
So what do we,
Introducing the budget.
budget
Just so that
ordinance.
it's introduced.
Instead of the,
Yeah, I know that.
yeah, that way we,
So,
That way, next Monday, if there's only
if something happened to somebody, then we would be all right, somebody
what
can
name?
Yeah,
move to second reading.
Yep.
you got it.
Okay.
What'd you say?
It's being taped.
No, sure.
Why, you gotta have to clean it up?
I'm getting ready to turn around and say something to you. I'm getting ready to turn around and say something to you, okay?
Your insurance back. What do we know?
Okay. Give me a second, sir.
I don't know if we even have the application.
It reappeared. That's awesome. I'm happy. Good evening, October 2nd, 2018, 7 PM, work session, open officially 7 PM. Unfinished items on the first set list would be CYL update. I haven't heard any more. Karen was abreasting everybody that and discussing it with Johnny. Has legal heard anything on that at all from the last meeting? So with that, we can try to get a hold of Johnny and or Karen and find out if there was any update on that, and we'll bring that to next meeting. Trash ordinance rate discussion. Any more information from your side? Okay, you had 2 bids,
2 quotes.
2 quotes.
Which I'll have to
2
send
quotes.
out for bid.
Officially now, to move forward with that legal, do we need to open up for a bid? And, okay,
I assume from the quotes, you'll prepare your specs, or he's got specs, so he'll,
Okay.
They've got copies and specs.
send out invitations to bid.
legally,
May wanna make a
legally, can
motion
we
to,
get that started?
Yeah, and I can draft it, although I think the motion will be to empower the manager and the clerk treasurer to prepare and send out the invitations to bid, because she'll have to publish, whereas he'll work on the invitation and the notice to bidders. I'll help him with that. I would assume you're pretty much gonna use the same format you did on the fire truck in terms of instruction to bidders, because you're purchasing a vehicle, so it fits pretty well. It's just the exact specifications obviously will be different. Each one of the fire truck.
Yeah, okay. So I would entertain a motion to let the town manager and the clerk prepare the paperwork to obtain bids on the trash truck and specifications. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Gary, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Dan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, so carried. Salt building, still on here, and we're gonna move that. It's gonna come back up at us in springtime. We're still gonna keep it there. If you hear me say that again and again and again, that's because we don't wanna lose sight of it. It will move back up on us, and we will address that in the spring. EDC appointment, is, pending, and I've got emails and conversations with Mr. Turner, and would you still be interested in that, Mr. Turner? Let the record know that Mr. Turner nodded yes.
Sorry.
And
Yes.
and we will move forward with that and dates and get things addressed with the clerk on that, and the official appointment and paperwork shortly coming.
unfinished old business, is there any other, I'll start with this end.
We have, we need to do something with the voluntary annexation. I'm not sure exactly where we stand on that.
My understanding was when we left the meeting last Thursday, the planning commission meeting, that the commission, you were gonna work on a bids and proposal, and then Susan told me that you had mailed that to
Yeah, it's been emailed
him.
to,
I didn't
Yeah.
see it, but
yeah.
my understanding was it went to you and to Mr. Tincher. That's what Susan told me yesterday.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, then that was a
You
misunderstanding
got
too.
it, Mark?
No, because that's why he's looking dumbfounded at me, so, we need to, be abreast of that and let him take a look at it first, because, when we were in the planning commission meeting, Gary, you were
I
there.
didn't get one either.
I had kinda nodded over and said what we would
Oh,
get.
actually, it's from
We would get the
Susan
annex-
Ratchey.
Okay,
I-
we would,
yeah, I had seen
we
it.
would get the annexation, moving forward, with legal's advice, and one of them was, to get the survey, and then we'll move on adoption of the physical plan.
What you'll do, yeah, you'll introduce your ordinances and move to publish notice of your public hearing on the fiscal plan and a special meeting to follow. After your public hearing and your special meeting, you can adopt your resolution approving the fiscal plan. And then there's a time, and then there's seven periods of time that will expire as you proceed towards, yeah. And once we, introduce the ordinances, we can flesh that timeline out, I think, to some specific
Okay.
dates.
So,
Now, I know we talked about, we had just a draft of the fiscal plan. I have not been able to find a final copy.
Gene
I
can
do have
get that, yeah.
You do,
Final
okay.
copies, yes.
I think we probably need all that above on us, so we can all take a look at it and move that forward, is
Now, I
that
understand,
correct?
Gene, it might be two fiscal plans, though?
There are two physical
Okay.
plans,
As opposed to
because
one.
originally we were looking at one physical plan for the whole thing.
Right.
But we were going to do both annexations under one ordinance. But when we had to separate it to the two ordinances, then we had to have two separate physical plans, so we had to adopt each one of them.
Right.
And I do have my copy of the finals, I put the others in the email. So I'll get them, make sure they're scanned and everybody.
Let's make sure they get to Susan and up in the cloud.
Yeah.
Right, that's a big word. Now, can we adopt both fiscal plans at the same time?
Yes, and in fact, you could really have one fiscal plan. The idea, yes, but, yes.
Okay.
So, we'll get that spread throughout the system and get that in motion maybe for next week meeting, does that sound good to
That
you?
sounds good. Do you have questions? That's right.
Subject
I'll get you
to,
up to speed.
subject to the surveys being done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct, and he could get on this immediately, is that correct?
Yes, I talked with him and he said, well, we've already did that, and he said, I still stand by my bid and everything. If you notice, the date was back in May, so we just need approval
Okay.
and he can get started on it.
And Gene, is he going to bring in the entire width of Gar Jackson and the entire width of
Right,
Gates?
I went over everything
Okay.
you had me go over, originally, and that bid is to prepare the 4 legals for
Okay.
each parcel.
Okay.
Yeah, $1,200, I thought that was pretty reasonable. If
I know
remember,
you originally
choice
said
one
500
engineering
to
also did
1,000,
they were
but-
higher.
Yeah, that, okay, well, I make a motion that we authorize the plan commission to,
River Valley Surveying,
Yes.
motion made by Mark to accept the survey for the annexation from River Valley Survey for the amount of $1,200. Do I hear a second?
Second is stated.
Second from Gary. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. There's your paper copy. Thank you, Gene. And note be made on that we'll be moving,
You get a copy of that when you get to it.
we'll be moving forward with that. As this returns and with the physical plans. Anything else under other? Dan?
Legal.
Yes, you had asked me last month to look at talk to the department heads regarding the letter that the clerk had sent. There were 3 issues raised in the letter. I've spoken with the chief of police and I've spoken with the town manager. Under the circumstances, the clerk treasurer being represented by counsel, I did not speak with her, can't speak with her, but I did communicate through the council. There were 3 issues generally raised, as you know, in the letter. One is whether,
Not to interrupt.
yeah,
Did you pass that letter on through?
I presume the
Okay.
clerk did. And Cloud,
I haven't
Okay.
seen anything.
So that's probably not happened, so if you could do that on my request, or is that possible?
Sure, I might.
And that way, all the members have a copy of that letter, and even though you're gonna explain that right now, they can get their reading on that as well.
Well, I'm just gonna summarize because it's all
Okay.
policy. And,
Correct.
Three issues were raised. One is whether the board would want to revisit the issue of whether to exempt the chief of police from FLSA overtime and compensatory time rules. And I think I made it clear, you know, what my legal opinion is on that. It happens to concur with the clerk's lawyer's opinion, which is to say certainly the chief of police could be exempt, but you've already made your decision on whether you would apply that exemption. So this is a request to revisit that. The second issue was whether you should address that issue, depending on its outcome, in your salary ordinance. There are, as you know, the chief of police does accrue compensatory time, which would not be the subject of a salary ordinance, but nonetheless should be a subject of standard operating procedures, and I understand, you know, as I've spoken to the chief, that he'll be looking into that. Kind of dovetailing with this, and so admittedly, this isn't part of the letter, but I know that the clerk has sent out an email, I think, to the board a week ago or so, suggesting that it's time to revisit the employee handbook. So all of these issues of fringe benefits and salaries, et cetera, would be part of that. So I would recommend that overall, whatever may come out of this process, it would be a good opportunity to look at your employee handbook, particularly how you deal with fringe benefits. Likewise, that would fall in line with the police department's standard operating procedures and how they deal with fringe benefits. That, as you know, is also an issue that you've already ruled upon, so it's somewhat of a suggestion to revisit that. The third issue raised was regarding access to the security cameras throughout the town property. I've spoken, specifically the issue regards accurate reporting of payroll. The clerk has, and also monitoring of the cash box or the drop slot, right. I've spoken to the chief of police specifically about his procedures and protocols for maintaining the chain of custody of the security cameras. And my understanding is that he'll be looking into a standard operating procedure that would allow, of course, town officials for legitimate purposes to access that footage, but it would be done in a way that the chain of custody is maintained. I've spoken to the town manager as well about whether, that, he would need to be worked into such a policy for purposes of payroll. And I'm coming to learn that you're in the trials right now of the new payroll system, so whether or not it's necessary to adopt as an internal control policy that video footage of time clocks is reviewed, I presume weekly or regularly, to supplement the controls that are already into place, it's gonna be up to you. But it would be important, again, that if there is, for instance, we had an allegation in the past of a customer who said they put money into the Dropbox, and there was a dispute. I don't know whether it was resolved, but there was a dispute of whether that was actually done. There, of course, the police chief can offer access to that footage and prepare that footage in a way that it can be used if it's necessary to prosecute or whatever the case may be. Likewise, if there are issues of, labor issues of people clocking in and clocking out when they shouldn't be, or anything of that nature, my understanding is that, you know, for whatever times the town manager has needed to look at that footage, she's been able to approach the chief of police and say, hey, I need to see the footage from this place or this time. He's always been able to access that. So the operating procedure that I'm prescribing might be already in place, so to speak, but that's something to explore as well. That's about all I have to say on the subject. I guess circulating the letter amongst you so that you can read it for yourself and start your own discussions or debates on that would be the most appropriate step at this point. The only comment I would make is that predominantly the issue of internal controls, as we know, is the handling of the money. And this is, although it is a statute that's been in place now for years, it's predominantly for the use of the State Board of Accounts. And the notion of monitoring the time clocks, whether it's going to be a key fob or a thumbprint or a camera or a handwritten card that's subject to the supervision of the town manager, that's an important policy I think to have in place, but I don't know that it's necessarily an internal control, such as, again, dealing with invoices, purchase orders, checks, deposits, cash, etc. And we know this much, that the State Board of Accounts is not, you don't want the tail wagging the dog here. State Board of Accounts and their desire that you maintain and implement and review and grow your internal controls shouldn't dictate how you necessarily govern. So I want to hesitate to say that you should always consider an internal control and then legislate from there. It probably should be in the reverse. Once you decide what you're going to legislate, what your policies are going to be, then you want to see what types of internal controls are necessary to fully implement that, particularly when it's regarding the handling of the money.
Mr. President, may I say something?
Yes, sir.
Concerning security cameras, as he stated, Kevin's got with me one time before on a specific incident. He wanted to see some video. I looked it up, told him what I seen. If he wanted a copy, I'd have burned it for him. He didn't. It answered the question. The reason I state that, with what Ed is saying, I don't want it where the clerk comes to me and says, I want to see the whole week's video for the Dropbox. That's kind of ridiculous. I think we need to, and this is the way I'm writing SOPs and stuff too, is it needs to be for a specific incident. And, you know, depending on what I view on that video, whether it should be turned over to the clerk, because if there's a dispute over a payment that was supposedly put in the box and was not received, unfortunately, I have to look at all the clerk's employees and the clerk themselves that have access to that Dropbox as possible suspects, as well as the person making the alleged claim that payment was there and it wasn't put in there. So, you know, that could be a criminal offense, and that's something that we need to maintain chain of custody on evidence on. So I don't have an issue, you know, releasing video, but we need to be a little bit more stringent about it and look at more of case-by-case incident. I got better things to do than spend all day sitting there burning videos.
Two suggestions I would have, and this is all I think I should, the only input I should have maybe the policy is incorporate a reasonableness standard, which is what I hear you saying, and I think there would have to be some discretion left to the chief of police when it comes to matters of chain of custody. He does not want to hand over something to the prosecutor can't use if that's what's necessary, whether it's ghost employment or whether it's, you know,
Privacy
theft or-
issues too, with people.
Well, we've talked about that in a different context, I think, when the issue of cameras came up, but you're right, you know, there is the question of when and where cameras should be placed and what notice should be given. But here I'm trying to stick to the issue that raised in the letter, and it predominantly revolves around the clerk's obligation to make sure that the payroll is accurate. And the letter was written at a time when perhaps, you know, the only record for payroll was a card that the employee wrote. Now granted, subject to his supervision, And, you know, he's there when they're, and he knows when the day starts for them, and he knows when, you know, there are times, I'm sure, when he can't follow every employee around town, but generally speaking, you know, perhaps, and if the clerk were here, maybe she could answer this, but, you know, that request came at a time when we weren't ready with the thumbprints, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think now,
more accurately.
I think now with biometrics, we've used thumbprints for a long time where I'm at, or not thumbprints, but key fobs. I think with a thumbprint, you're not gonna, I don't think ghost employment's an issue. In other circumstances, whether it be criminal or civil, I think that setting a policy is, or legislating what you're going to do with that, which that has never been done. I think there's some set rules that have been an SOP or
Well,
that.
looking at the state Board of Accounts manuals for towns, specifically on the issue of payroll, the illustration that they provide, and it is very little guidance, it's really only 2 sentences. The illustration they provide is that there are time cards and that there is a responsible official who verifies the time cards. And I think you always had that system in place. I honestly don't know whether you've ever had any payroll issues come up in any of your audits. If you have, that could clearly be driving the clerk's concerns here.
Mr. President, as a town employee, I would like to ask, well, why is it necessary to videotape us clocking in and out if we're using a fingerprint? I mean, nobody else is gonna have my fingerprint.
This is a fact, and those issues will be addressed. Knowing that, go ahead.
I think that the video was brought up long before we were talking about doing fingerprints.
No,
Is the issue.
the new time clock's got a camera built into it, if you weren't aware of that.
Yeah.
I wasn't,
So it was, you know, specifically stated there wasn't gonna be a camera in that room, but now there is.
Who gave authorization for that?
I don't know.
Do they, and you know, let's not assume anything, let's assume that the thumbprint time clock comes with a camera no matter what, okay? Regardless, that can be enabled or disabled,
Well, it should be, because we knocked that down.
and that's understandable, but let's assume that for now, we're going to make sure that that is not an enabled feature. And like I said, I don't think, it's kinda, you know, this thing started with me. I'm the driver behind the, hey, we need a time clock. We had some old time clock, wouldn't work. They were being told by the previous town manager that it didn't matter what time it was, you were gonna be there, what time that clock said it was, even though it was 15, 20 minutes fast, and I was 10 minutes early, yet I was 5 minutes late. And so we were looking for a new time clock. New time clocks to me were something more advanced, that would be easier to keep time with the clerk's office electronically. And then came along, you can get thumbprints, you can get apps on your phone and some other access, and this might have came up as, when you buy one, that you can get a thumbprint or a key fob on that has a camera, and we'll make sure that it's not in there videotaping a break room where something can be seen that might not need to be seen.
Can I make a suggestion, just go ahead and put tape over that until we can make that decision?
Has that been done?
Yes.
Has that been done?
Yes, it has.
Okay. For now, we'll just leave it that way, but I will make sure that this body makes the decision of what happens.
I can also tell you that, we are having issues with that, the whole system. It took me 7 times to clock in before we would accept my fingerprint the other day. This morning, how many was it this morning? 3?
Okay, I do know that and it's probably got newer technology than my phone. If I've got some moisture on,
I
okay?
understand that, yes.
And also, I know that with my phone, it asks me to register 2 fingerprints. That way, if you're having issues with one, you can put the other one on there.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's part of that, and we'll learn more of that. Kevin, will you please do diligently work with that and make sure that if there is an issue with that, and I'd hate to think they were running in the shop at 1 minute till thinking, I'm gonna be at work on time, and, that doesn't happen, but I'm sure that Kevin will work with you and then the administration will work as it needs to be. Okay,
Who verifies the employees' hours?
town manager.
Well, I can also tell you that, I
For
can
the
also tell
utility
you,
workers, correct.
I can also tell you that right now, the way it's been going through, there are times that I didn't even clock out, I'm still on the clock, because I can't get it to work. And I'm not the only one.
Again,
That's just like Saturday,
again.
when I was doing plant checks, I clocked in, I couldn't clock out.
The technical issues, get with your manager, he will do diligently work with you guys and or the company that they're provided by and make sure that we get an answer. I'm sure that they're more than welcome to help us out, and then he's more than welcome to make sure that, and a lot of those programs, when I was a supervisor and I worked with key fobs, there's systems where he can take care of that, he can write you in, write you out, and that's his check to that system.
Well, I just wanted to bring this to your attention, because
I do
Kevin and I are
appreciate it.
working on it, and the thing is, I don't want anybody else to come along and say, hey, these two, they're not getting this done, and this ain't getting done, we can't track people from clocking in and out.
And if you can't get a hold of him in a certain situation, give somebody in the clerk's office heads up, or one of the council members, and we'll get back with him if he's not answering his phone or got an emergency that he can't get with you, and we'll get it taken care of.
Can I say one more comment on that?
Yes.
That places our employees in a very precarious situation, because they're trying to clock in or they're trying to clock out, and it's, I did this or I didn't do that. We need to move on that immediately, because that's to protect our employees. If they work a half-hour overtime, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they're working for money, and they don't want to get tied up in, well, we're not sure. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
I think he'll take care of it.
Well, I have a question. So,
Yes.
Mr. Slick, in these circumstances that he's describing, have you been able to verify hours worked through that?
Yes.
Okay, so, because this is a trial phase we're in, right?
Yeah.
So there is, yeah, I think we're aware that there's gonna be glitches.
And we can see every attempt that's made, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I have researched these for, my father owns his own shop and a ton of employees. All the research I did, the video camera on these time clocks are not video cameras. They take a snapshot at the time of you clocking in to verify. So they're not running all the time as a open video camera. So, we'll have to verify that, but all the research I've done, it's a snapshot when somebody clocks in, so you can see who actually did that action.
And there again, the question was asked to me, what happens if somebody's changing into their coveralls, in the background? You really don't wanna, my camouflage undies or something, but, there's a picture that you didn't even know about either,
I
but.
think you'll find too that the field of vision is pretty narrow.
Okay. But for the time being, we'll make sure that that's disenabled. Apparently, you've disenabled it for now, and with your management, it's in your control. You will do diligently take care of it and report back to us on how that's going.
Who has the snapshot on that or video or whatever? Where does that go? I mean, if it takes a
I'm
picture.
not
It
familiar
goes-
with it.
I'm sure it goes with the punch in as a file.
So it goes on the computer.
Same computer is logging
So you don't verify it then? Verify.
Seeing the picture.
So when they clock in, where does that information go?
You see something on the screen that says this person clicked in at this time?
Yeah, I can pull up their time card for the day. And in the event they can't clock in or out, I can make the adjustment on the card.
So we'll find out about the picture option right now, but it's not a concern at our present time. And I don't want anybody to feel that, we don't trust you even with a key fob or putting your own number in, cause if you're, not trustworthy and you give somebody your number, your key fob to clock you in, and you get busted, you deserve to get busted doing that, and you're not trustworthy in the first place. And I wanna make you feel like you're not trustworthy, but if you can't be trustworthy, then you will get caught. End of discussion for that, I think, right now. Anything else under other? Dan? Here. With that, we're gonna move on to the new items. Kyle Turner with Main Street Group, he called up and requested some time. If you wanna step up or stand up, maybe, even up here, I can hear you a little bit better when you're a little closer.
You guys all know me, I'm Kyle Turner, Turner Insurance, I'm the board president for Main Street Central Link. We're a local 501c3 that's charged with revitalization and beautification initiatives for Main Street Centerville. Got a couple of my board members, Rex and Karen Lawson, local residents that live in one of our beautiful row houses down the street, and Jackie Carberry, owner of Warm Glow. We're currently in the application process to receive a Main Street designation, which is through the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, OCRA. If you go back and look at your 2009 Downtown Revitalization Plan, which was done by a group called the Bonar Group, in that report, it said that we needed to have a Main Street program. So it's been over a year ago. We had some board members that approached us and said, "Hey guys, you need to put this program together." We've been diligently doing that. How many pages are application, Rex?
115.
We have a 115-page application, which is going to go into Okra. We're meeting with them again next week. So we hope to get that designation. What that designation allows us to do is apply for grants for downtown beautification and revitalization initiatives. What I'm here tonight to ask for is to have a board member be a regular monthly member of just our group. Don't have to serve on our board, but just be at our meetings, because we really need to work together, because there are going to be grants that we will be able to apply for that as a town you won't be able to apply for, but we will, but we have to do that in concert with one another. Does that make sense? So we only have so many grants available. We work together to get some of those. All right, and the town's also going to need to be involved, because we'll raise money for some of these initiatives, but we're also going to have matching. And if you go back and look at throughout the state how these programs work, a lot of times that match or that seed money for those nice large projects comes from the town. Okay, so that's all I'm here tonight is to ask for. We need to work together, and you need to know what we're doing, and we just need to make sure we're all on the same page so we can go for those grants that will help our town.
Any input from your end starting this way?
No. I'd like to participate, but I just don't know about the time.
We meet typically for an hour on the second Thursday of each month. Again, not asking to be a board member, just asking to have somebody that can be there on a regular basis. I know Ed's has become kind of a regular member for us on the last few months, so that's been much appreciated. But we need the council to be lockstep with us.
What time are you meeting?
6 o'clock.
Do you think you could do that, Dan?
I can sometimes,
And maybe we can alternate depending on who could show up and show some representation. Do you got any other comments before I move on to me? I'm gonna move on to myself before I come down to you guys. Those who understand, or most of you understand, he's talking about Okra grants. We only, you can only apply for 2 at a time. So right now we've got a stormwater project that's gonna really help some of the community members in different parts of the town, which will help the whole town eventually. And then our water treatment process, and those are both very good processes that need to be done. And I'm sure there's gonna be other processes that, and I'm not downgrading, revitalizing and upgrading the uptown or the downtown of Centerville, Main Street group, but that would, in my eyes, kind of play in where are we gonna put these two grants and how we're gonna try to apply for money, so, I hate to say it, I'm like Mark, I just got a call I just came in here and I put off a call in for work and said 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'll be done with this meeting and I'll run back out to work after working a 12-hour day today, so I'll be back out there here and just as soon as we leave here. So if that happens on a Thursday evening, I'm not gonna be able to show up as frequently, and when he said he could do it sometimes, and maybe one of these gentlemen would like to, okay. So, James is kind of stepping up and saying he would like to do that, so maybe between those two, they can alternate, and if there's a night that they can't show up, they can give me a call, and maybe I'll show up once or twice a year, and then we get some kind of, and then you'll have your input there.
Okay.
And
That's what it's all
I
about,
think-
though, is the planning part going forward, is, hey, what do we, how are we gonna make this work? And what order does everything go into, and you've all been of great help to this point for us, but
Where you meeting at now?
in the back of my office at Turner Insurance.
Sneak right in the back door, they won't throw you out, they didn't throw me out last time.
What day of the month was it?
The second Thursday.
And I'm sure that it's a public meeting, correct?
Yes.
So if two of us show up, it's all right, just make sure three of us don't show up.
Yep.
Thanks, chief, for showing up and kind of putting your input, because you see a lot of things going on downtown.
And we're gonna begin, we're beginning, once we get our, everything put together, we're gonna be beginning our, kind of our, like, membership or dues or whatever, so we would appreciate the town's participation in that as well. Any business entity, organization is $100, any individual is $50. So,
Non-for-profit, so
that's correct.
you're not going out and eating a meal on us, so we're good with that.
Not wasting on combs, I can tell you that.
Okay. Haircut money, yeah, okay.
That's it, guys.
Okay, anything from you, Gary? James? Nothing other than thanks for stepping up along with Dan, we appreciate that, so,
Appreciate everything you guys have done.
thank you, Kyle.
You either.
Y signal communication request, is that just kinda hitting me, cause I don't know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Cause I don't.
Some of you might already know me, but I'm Daniel Flory, business owner of Y Signal Communications. Before I get into the request, I'll just go over some background of my business. So about 6 years ago, I started a business down in Abington. It's down in the valley, but nobody can get internet down there. So, built that ground up, moved on to the west from Abington. Now we're up in Whitewater. We got a tower there to help them. They're in the same situation. So, what we do is, we use wireless frequency to get internet to the subscriber's home. And what I'm requesting is to utilize space on top of the water tower on 4th Street to help interlock and get more coverage to the rural areas that I can't cover right now. Speaking on that, Bridgemax, since they lost some of their FCC licensing, that used to cover a lot of the area, you know, so I'm looking to help cover the areas that they lost. So I put up a packet for each person, you know, site leasing.
What side are you talking about? Right here, the 204, okay.
Legal one.
And not to throw somebody else's name out there, this is kinda like Bridgemax,
Yes.
okay?
We utilize different kind of frequencies than what Bridgemax or.
But basically the same, we'll just leave that, we won't give them any more, free advertising.
So we utilize, equipment, it's air fiber, so what we do is we get a fiber handoff from a company, Windstream, here in Centerville, and we'll run it up to the air fiber, and it'll be fiber speeds over the air to our subscriber modules.
What's your name again, sir?
Daniel Flory.
How do you spell that last name?
Floore.
Okay, let's put it with a Y. I'd like to put this under advisement of legal. If we could take some advisement, let him look at it, and then we'll take this up at the next meeting and see where we can go from that, Daniel.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thank you for
coming.
your time.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Do we have your information, your business card, et cetera?
Susan has all my information. If you want it, I can.
I saw it here.
Any other questions, Jane?
No.
Gary? Dan? Mark?
No.
Okay. I'm trying to re-pull my cloud up here for this next item on the agenda, if anybody else has got it up here. For some reason, I lost my connection. Next line item of business is a 306 South Second adjustment request. And pull it up. And let me just take a look at this. Has anybody else looked at this already? Is this one the question for you? Is this the one that,
9625
just the water bill or the sewer?
No, the 306
Okay.
South Second is the,
Okay, so the adjustment is going to be for 26,
Yes.
I've got 9625.
96.25. Okay,
And who verified it?
Sean, it says here, Sean Phoenix.
Verified both of these, I believe.
Correct. So on the first one, I look for a motion to make an adjustment on 306 South Second for 96.25. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Gary, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mark, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, so carried. Okay. Next one, moving on here. 908 McMinn, adjustment request. This is the one that I was thinking about. This is just water only.
Right.
And I don't think there's a set policy, and then here it says, so they're just looking on just a water only. I don't think there's ever been an adjustment ever made just on water only.
Goes through your meter, goes through your meter.
So, and it's, I think that would cause a bunch of precedent issues.
Well, not to cut the quick, but
Yeah,
I would refuse that and make that in motion.
Gary's made a motion to refuse the adjustment at 908 North McMahon Road. Do I hear a second?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are they not asking for a sewer adjustment?
There is no sewer there,
There is no
just
sewer,
water.
okay, all right.
Do I hear a second? Second by Dan, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, so carried. No adjustment be made. BZA, alternative appointment. We had discussed that, and had me and you discussed that a little bit as well, Ed, Martin,
Discuss what?
about the BZA alternatives?
A while back.
I know that Gene had said something about it, and
The alternative is in the event that there's going to be a scheduled hearing on some type of appeal and a board member can't be present, you can have an alternate who then comes in to fill in so that there's a quorum in the voting body.
we can look into that. Let's table that forward. and I'll get with Gene on that as well, and we'll get some ideas of who those people might be, but how many times they met. Lately, the only thing I can think of is,
We've met twice this year. They, at the last meeting, they adopted their procedures,
okay,
elected their officers and adopted their procedures, operating procedures. And in those procedures, it designates that the, in case if needed for a conflict of interest or for a quorum, that an alternate can step in.
can step in, and has there ever been one appointed before? No? An alternate?
No, but by town's ordinance, we're one member short anyway.
Okay. Let's get some names and work with that, and give me a call or two this week, and we'll move forward with that into the next meeting as well.
Because we are looking at possible one or two issues that may end up in the BZA in the near future or something.
Okay. Then we will take care of that. I've got one other here, but anybody else on other and new? Dan? James? Gary? The other I have here is next Monday, we have a meeting up here to approve the ordinance and resolution appropriation of the budget next year.
It's just an introduction of the ordinance.
Yeah, so, and, I need a motion, the introduction of our ordinance, the first reading, ordinance resolution number 2018-15. Motion by Dan, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mark, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, so carried. And that was because,
Might need a copy.
okay. That's, I know that's on the print cloud, but we will make sure that that
Maybe an
happens.
email, but I'll make sure.
Okay. Okay. And then we have a letter here, reminded me by Dan that I seen when I walked in. Jeff Lowmiller would like to speak on the letter that we have here.
Okay. I just, Susan was supposed to put me on the agenda.
That's fine.
But anyhow, I just wanted to let the council know and everybody else that, October the 1st, our NPDS permit at the wastewater plant for the renewal application was due. I did, mail it off on Friday, September 28th. Once I then will receive the letter, it will start corresponding with us to improve or to make changes in the NPDS permit. And that'll take about 180 days. So it'll go back and forth until we come to some type of agreement. We'll be able to put our input into. But I will believe that we will be having to treat phosphorus in our new permit, which is going to be an added expense to the plant. And I'm trying to work those numbers, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be an added maybe 15,000 to 20,000 a year. I'm hoping I'm high, but just kind of basing it off what I've seen at our plant in Richmond. It could be that. I'm not sure, but I just want to throw that out there. But I will get you some harder numbers. But we'll probably end up working with either an engineering firm or, which would be cheaper to work with a chemical supplier, let them do some pilot testing with us.
So would that cost me on top of?
That cost should be free.
Okay.
That's the way the chemical companies like to work.
Jeff, I might ask, and I don't know if you've met.
No, I'll
But
introduce.
you step up and visit with James tonight, I would appreciate it. He's taking over the role of that commissioner's position, and, so he'll be our liaison like the rest of us with other departments as well, so. Any other things you wanna add, any
Just real
questions? from any
quick,
board members?
attached to this, I did, give us our mercury and our phosphorus, what leaves the plant. We're not too bad, but we're at 2.5 or 2.4 milligrams per liter on our effluent, so, and what IDEM is liking is the plant to have at least 1 milligram per liter.
And will things change with the new process and the new
New
system?
EQ tank, yeah, no, that will not,
No, it'll pretty much be the same, just
yeah.
on a more controlled level up to IDEM inspection.
Yeah, the CSOs, is for, to capture our rainwater, so we can treat it before we put it back into the river.
Okay.
And that project, as you all know, is underway. I was informed today that we've got 2 wells, they dug 2 wells for us, for deep watering as they built this tank. And, they actually hit a main power line to, 3 of our sump pumps, or, sludge pumps. I'm gonna go over there after the meeting and take a look and see what we need to do, but we need to get temporary ran for right now, but we're probably gonna have to do I don't know if it's gonna be a change order, if we can get, a local contractor here to come in and move the line, because it's right, from what Steve said, it's right in the middle of where the tank's at, and it just didn't get located.
Any questions? Not yet. Okay. I know you're probably overwhelmed more than I am, but.
I'm
it's
gonna
fine. And it's a good place to go down there and watch Donnie, what he does, what Jeff does.
I have been down.
So, yeah. Thanks for your advisement on this situation without us getting ourselves in some other kind of situation.
Just one last thing, if you don't mind. I am in the process of working on our land application permit, which is due, November the 1st. And, it's a non-site specific, because we do landfill our biosolids, but we do want to keep it open in case we ever do want to land apply again.
Any questions on that? Ed, Martin, we don't need signatures on this, just need to pass it to you. Yeah, so you pass that back down through. With nothing else, we would adjourn this meeting at officially 7:51.
Thursday.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.